The whiteboard's been improved and we're back for part 2. After free manual labor from my girlfriend with helping put this together and write the entire thing, we're going to be exploring Chapter 2, Paradise Lost of Arcadia TV, the analog horror series. From Chilling Abyss, go support the dude. As a matter of fact, I just subscribed. I realized I wasn't subscribed to this man. He deserves every bit of it. The production off the charts, the meat riding from me off the charts. But without further ado, let's jump right back into this story about monsters crossing over from parallel dimensions, all because a doctor wanted to establish a connection with a different universe. I scooted a little closer so maybe you could read the board a bit better, but Arcadia Chapter 2 is split up into 4 different videos, and we're going to take it video by video just like we did last time. Starting off with the Great North Alaskan Disaster, which takes place on December 23rd, 1983. The footage was approved by the US government. It's never been seen before, and I gotta say the setup and the backdrop is absolutely beautiful. You know, the video game on the TV, and then off on the window you see Alaska exploding in the background. Who knew timelines colliding and parallel universes clashing could be so beautiful? But anyways, we find out that the distress call was made by one Ian Parker.
Mayday, mayday, mayday! This is Winter Station Bravo! Can anyone hear me? I repeat, this is Winter Station Bravo! Can anyone hear me? This is... Can anyone fucking hear me? Hello? Is anyone out there? Wow! It's fucking John! What the fuck do I do? No, it can't be. He actually did it.
Then 2 days after that wonderfully voice-acted distress call, I mean, beautiful, Oscar-worthy performance. I don't really know who did it, but kudos, credit to you, man. We get the EBS, the emergency broadcast system, that was activated on Christmas Day at 5:28 a.m. And it's pretty much just a recap of the last 2 videos of Chapter 1 of Arcadia TV. But we do get some new info right after the emergency broadcast from a different POV of 2 planes that disappeared while they were delivering evacuation flyers. Because the way they were telling everyone to evacuate, they were posting up flyers, sending it out over every TV and radio station, trying to get everybody to know, even if they were very disconnected and off the grid, that they need to leave northern Alaska, or they're going to get shot and treated as hostile. And after the disappearance of the aforementioned 2 planes that went to deliver these flyers, they stopped sending out flyers to people to let them know and just let it be what it was going to be, which led to hundreds of people going missing, and the government closed off the area, made it completely sealed off, no one going in, no one going out. And we also got some neat close-up footage of the aftermath, you know, fire through like a cabin window kind of setup. Don't really know what's going on there, but it's neat nonetheless. Then that jump cuts us to 1989, where it says Alaska's wilderness landscape has changed dramatically due to the Great Migration of 1984. Because it appears not only humans were evacuated from that area, but also animals and wildlife just instinctually and naturally knew they needed to get away from where all this to get away from this giant explosion and mess and come down south. And it was also around this time where they decided to build the wall to block off North and South Alaska that runs along the Canadian border to permanently seal it off and not let anybody in whatsoever. I know Republicans probably pumping their fists right now over here in a wall getting built, but they made it also illegal to document, like record or even take pictures of the wall without government approval, saying that, quote, it protects us from the unknown. And that brings us to the end of the first video, meaning I'm going to need to shift down the camera to see the second part. Yep, there we go. We're lowered down. We're locked in. Exclusion Zone Safety is the second video, which takes place on October 3rd, 1989. So it starts off by giving us some info about one man being injured and one little girl getting injured, father and daughter Chloe and Ethan Marshall. Then it cuts to an employee training tape called Exclusion Zone Safety, all about fissures. Then it goes on to explain what fissures are, basically saying that it's what links our world to the unknown, and that there's two different types of fissures: stable and unstable. Unstable fissures are much more common, have a much shorter lifespan, and they only last for like a couple milliseconds, and they're also a lot more common, happening like hundreds of times a year. Stable fissures, on the other hand, are quite dangerous and quite more rare. They have a very long lifespan, lasting minutes to years, with only 15 total being documented and only 4 that are currently active. And as a matter of fact, the first ever fissure that is at ground zero of the research lab that exploded is still currently active. And speaking of the research lab, Site Bravo, it gives us this big employee list where we see a familiar name, Ian Parker, and then also shows us that 4 of these employees are now missing out of like, I don't know, roughly like 15 on the page. I didn't really count. Then it goes into the actual training about fissures, how to detect fissures. One, you can use an EFD, which is the most recommended and common use. And just in case you don't carry a spare EFD in your pocket, some ways you can detect it without having one of those doohickeys is if you feel a sense of dread, like, you know, I don't know, your mom just caught you playing with a stiff sock, then that would be a good sense that you might be involved in a fissure. As well as complete silence, like wildlife and insects going completely silent, along with an increase of electrostatic activity, like your hair standing up like you're about to be struck by lightning, and then strange sounds is the final thing you can look out for. So right now, I don't trust anything that's going on in this universe. I don't even trust myself at this point. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what's going on. There's so much parallel universe stuff crossing over, infinite possibilities. But last but not least, anything inside of a fissure corona will be transported to the abyss. And then anything inside of the corona, when it activates, will be gone. It'll be blipped out of existence, sent to the abyss, and replaced with something presumably from a different parallel universe. And the activation of a fissure inside of this corona is usually followed up with traits like a sonic boom and a very bright flash. And that's the end of Exclusion Zone Safety. Gotta wet my whistle real quick. Doing a lot of yapping here. It's exhausting. Our third video is just really an ad for the video game called The Farm. But the actual title of the video is Welcome to Paradise. And at the very end of this video, it tells us that there's a curfew in effect, which is very strange because it makes it sound very ominous, telling you to like get a gun and everything. And now lastly, that takes us down to the video The Farm, which is the biggest of all these. It's like 22 minutes long, takes place in 1980 with Ian Parker. And now I'm going to have to adjust the camera because you can't see down there. And we start off with a very ominous clip from Ian about the signal that's traveling through the abyss.
I am afraid. Have we made a mistake? I've gone over the scenario in my head, over and over. What if the signal goes beyond what we know? Far beyond our estimations. Continually traveling the endless abyss. Forever. We knew about the possibility of it happening. We took the necessary precautions. But still, it is a non-zero chance. We would be inviting things that could bend our reality. Things beyond our comprehension. There's a reason only one world answered. The others, silent. They are hiding. They are afraid of what lies at the edge of the abyss.
I told you so in the last video. Dark forest theory confirmed, baby, all the way. The Fermi paradox. I love this. I love the creator of this. Come on now. I mean, big brain. The dude has worked in the dark forest theory perfectly with parallel universe travel, all in an analog horror that started off as like a similar to Local 58 in the sense that it's like a TV station that's been hijacked. Come on now. The storytelling is off the charts. Someone give this man a script writing job in Hollywood. He could save every movie. Anyways, following that footage, there is a severe cognito hazard, warning us that, you know, if we watch this, it's going to cause severe mental damage or something. I don't know. I don't even have any wrinkles on my brain anyways, just a bowling ball, so I'm at no threat really. And then we find out they're going to hook Ian up to this machine that records whatever the participant sees, and they're going to put him inside of the Farm video game where we find out that there's this entity that they want him to speak with. And that he's also the first participant. This is the first time this thing's being used, so who knows how well it's going to go. As for the safety procedures, they have some, but I mean, it's the first try. He's the guinea pig. There's not really too much safety that can be done on the first attempt. But it starts off, it shows us that it's like a text-based game. Well, I'm assuming that's what the people who are, you know, monitoring this are seeing. They're seeing the text-based version. But then we cut in between the text-based to the game footage to show what's actually going on from the text. So I'm assuming the text is what the monitoring people are seeing, and then the actual game footage is what Ian is experiencing being hooked up to it. To which he's eventually prompted if he wants to leave, like exit the barn doors, or go towards the anguish and the like disturbed animals. To which for 17 minutes he attempts to leave the barn doors, saying that he's being called to them, that it's what he feels he needs to do, but he can't. The game keeps saying that it's not an option. So it pretty much forces him, shoves him in the direction of the animals. Then we hear some quotes like, which leads to a critical system error, which leads to Dr. Ian suffering a severe seizure, which lands him in the hospital and stuff, and he's in pretty bad condition. And he's very reluctant to continue, but the researchers persuade him. And then this time while he's in the game, he notices something in the cornfield. Which leads him to begin his communication with the entity, the reason that he came into the game in the first place. The entity says that he lost his world to the abyss, heard the signal, and then entered our world, which he's now making his home. And there's a bit more back and forth with him asking the questions in this notebook until we come across a pretty big revelation. Then Ian sees the entity, starts screaming uncontrollably, and it says something redacted happened to Ian, which I'm not really too sure. I'm kind of scratching my noggin on that. I can't really make out what happens. But then the entity goes on this long spiel, this little Marvel evil villain speech. And the final game is shooting the anguished animals, which I believe they're supposed to be animals. There's probably a deeper meaning there. It's just going over my head currently.
Remember my name?
But after he plays the game, he gets granted his final question and says, "What are you?" Dr. John Walker. It doesn't say that, but it's heavily implied. And I called it. In the last video, me and my girlfriend both had the theory that Dr. John Walker was heavily involved in this. I thought that he was like the whole mastermind behind this entire thing, and it appears he is. Maybe, well, not the mastermind. He's like a puppet for the creatures of the abyss. But he's a pretty big player in the story right now. And that reveal was awesome, you know? It felt like such a payoff to go through chapter 1 and 2. And then have it all connect back to where Chapter 1 started with Dr. John Walker's attempting to connect with parallel universes, leading to all of this. So Dr. John Walker is the reason that all of this happened. And now that takes us to the end of Arcadia Chapter 2, Paradise Lost. There are 2 more videos, Paid Programming and Monster, but I'm not going to go over that in this video. I'm going to leave that for a 3rd part that I should hopefully be able to get out maybe very soon. But I can't wait to see where this series goes. It seems like it's sort of reaching its conclusion. And I know I've seen some comments before from Chilling Abyss saying that they already know how they want it to end. They're just kind of on the journey, the way there right now. So I'm going to keep updated with this, and I love making videos on this. It's absolutely my favorite series to follow and keep up with right now. But other than that, I'm going to get up out of the floor, and I'll catch you in the next one.